may, I want to go back to something you said earlier about you were describing very well about how the claustrum is involved in changing these network states. And you can imagine that you might need to change these states all the time. And it seems very seamless, right? That might be your claustrum working properly.
Right.
You can imagine that your claustrum is not working properly. Those transitions might be difficult, and that might result in what manifests as cognitive dysfunction,
Right.
which is present in a wide variety of neuropsychiatric disorders
Right.
like depression, schizophrenia, addiction. So, disruption in the claustrum might be contributing to cognitive effects in these different neuropsychiatric disorders. And the role for psilocybin then might be to help sort of reset what's going on in the claustrum to enable more flexible control of network states.
And, I'm speaking a little loosely here, but, there's different states the brain can be in. Roughly speaking, that corresponds to different chunks of the brain, the cortex being active or inactive at the same time. So, presumably, certain combinations of regions being active in certain ways, can be adaptive and behavior is sort of normal. We can perform tasks and do things in an adaptive fashion. But if those, chords of the brain are out of sync with each other and being played in the wrong or inappropriate combinations, you might think, well, maybe that's what it is when someone has schizophrenia and they're hallucinating, and that's interfering with their ability to adaptively perform their life. Maybe that's the difference between a pleasant and seamless, insightful trip and a bad trip where you feel, completely disorganized and terrified. Perhaps it has something to do with a structure like the claustrum, either being able to coordinate different parts of the brain normally and seamlessly, or however you want to describe it, and being more discordant and putting, parts of the brain together that shouldn't be active at the same time, or something like this.
But certainly, cognitive deficits are widespread in neuropsychiatric disorders, as are network disruptions.
Yeah.
And there's a strong, association between what brain regions turn on and when for normal cognition, and those disruptions correlate with the degree of deficits in these different neuropsychiatric disorders. So figuring out what the circuit mechanisms are of network disruption in these different disorders is really important for us to be able to tackle cognitive deficits in these different disorders